Welcome back to MFO, everyone. I wanted to join into today's video because I've been hearing all about this dual threat phishing.
Yeah.
And how it has turned
Everyone's talking about it.
Yeah, and how it's turned into such a big scam, and how this guy has just been scamming all these people for all this money, and but I'm a little
This guy being Ethan Phillips or Tim, whatever name he's currently going by.
Right. I almost don't even want to say a name.
Right.
But technically, no one actually paid him any fees at the beginning, right?
Because it was a no entry fee.
Right, no entry fees. So okay, they had to pay for lodging and gas and all that, which is annoying. But that didn't go directly to him.
Right.
So it sucks that it happened, but why is it technically considered a scam if he didn't actually get any money out of this?
Well, I'm going to explain that, and I'm going to explain what I think the original scam was, what the original con was, because more and more people are saying, basically, bottom line is this guy was a con artist. He was running a game, like our thumbnail. He was running like The Sting, that old movie. They were running a big, elaborate con. And a lot of people have asked the same question you asked. Where's the con? Where's the money? I have a theory about where it is. And this theory, again, yes, is partially based on my thoughts, but it's also based on, remember, I had several meetings with him about becoming the tournament director. And so had several conversations, literally probably 2 to 4 hours worth of conversations with him, which gave me some insight in terms of what he was thinking, or at least what he said he was thinking.
Right.
And we're going to come back and we're going to explain the con when we come back. Welcome back to Mark Fisher Outdoors, everybody. I'm Mark Fisher.
I'm Megan Fuller.
So your question, Megan, was where's the con, right?
Right.
And I think a lot of people have been asking that. I know this is a question that I've been asking myself for several weeks now leading up to this. And I think as more information comes in, we're going to find out whether my theory is right. But this is kind of what I've got going on. So You mentioned that it's a no entry fee. But remember, it didn't start that way. It didn't start as a no entry fee event. It started as a team event where guys were going to pay $5,000 a team, and there were going to be 100 teams. So if you do the math right there, in the beginning, 100 teams at $5,000 of an event, that's $500,000 for one event.
Right.
Here's point number one that I want to make is that one of the best or cleverest parts of this con was that the season started out with a back-to-back kind of situation. We're going to go to Okeechobee on one week, and the very next week, we're going to St. John's in Florida. So we got 2 events, boom, boom. Okay, so think about it when it comes to entry fees. That's not $500,000.
That's $1 million.
That's $1 million that's going to happen in the span of 2 weeks. Okay? So when you look at it from that standpoint, and don't forget, he's also asking for deposits. In order to fish this, you also got to give me deposits for the season. Okay? So he's looking at it like, if I can get enough people involved in this to go, yeah, this is cool, and hype it up, and we did. We did an episode on MFO talking about how cool this team event thing was going to be. And again, remember, all of this was before the no entry fee kind of deal. So from that standpoint, I think the original con, and again, this is my theory, I'm not saying it's based on any firsthand knowledge, but my theory is that he was looking at it like, hey man, I'm gonna bring in $1 million. We're going to go down to Okeechobee and St. John's, and we're going to say, guys, checks are in the mail, okay? Or, hey, we'll be getting you the checks within 30 days. And his plan was, and this is where I think I dodged a bullet in terms of this all coming out this way, is that then I think he was going to hire a tournament director, because he told me months ago he was going to attend the Florida events. He was never intending to be at the Eufaula event, okay? He was going to have a tournament director hired by that time. So now me or whoever the patsy was that was the tournament director was going to go to Eufaula, say, okay, guys, we're ready to fish the third event. And guys, we're going to be going, hey, where's our money from the first two? And
Right.
the guy, whether it was me or whoever it was going to, meanwhile, this Ethan dude
It's long gone.
is in the wind with $1 million or more, okay? That's my theory on the way this is going to work. And just to give you some other components, and let's get to the no entry fee part.
I was going to say,
okay?
but he didn't.
It didn't work that way. But let me give it one other thing with the Eufaula event. Not only did I know that his plan all along was, I'm not going to Eufaula, and I want to have an outside person hired, like that person was ever going to get paid. We've looked into it. There's not a permit pulled for the Eufaula event. The Eufaula event was supposed to be in a month. There's no permit that has been pulled. In fact, there's another organization, I think it's a high school organization, that's doing a tournament going out of that ramp on those exact dates, because they pulled a permit, and dual threat fishing never had a permit for Eufaula. Yeah, so the reality is, I don't think there ever was going to be a Eufaula event. Whether people just showed up, or how that worked. But let's get to the next part of the explanation, which is, so why did the whole no entry fee thing kind of evolve? Well, the reality is that he says, or he told me that, I've got 1,600 applicants to pay $5,000 to be in the original version of this kind of series. That was his word, so you got to believe that was an exaggeration or a lie or whatever. But when it came to actually having checks, I don't think that he really collected that much money. And so we're looking at, it getting closer and closer to Okeechobee. And the reality is, the money that he thought he was going to be getting into his bank account didn't. And I'm making these numbers up, but maybe he had 15, 18, 20 different teams that had paid their entry fees, okay? When he decided to come up with the, hey, you know what, we're going to go no entry fee, we'll get your check back, we'll return your check, you can still come and fish. I think he did that because in his plan, he needed to have those two tournaments in order to give him time to have the money and give him a month to disappear before people realized it was a scam. Because if he didn't show up at Okeechobee, people would know it was a scam right then and there.
Right.
Okay. But by collecting the entry fees and the things that he did, so he was pretty much tied into, I have to show up at Okeechobee. Well, how could he show up at Okeechobee if he didn't have the 100 teams that he was saying that he had, but really didn't? And how could he keep the money that he did have if he didn't show up at Okeechobee? Because people would know that it was a scam right away. So he had this idea, this fallback position. And remember in the Sting, they had fallback. If something went wrong, they adapted. And I think that's what this guy did. He adapted, said, okay, I'm gonna I'm going to call it a no entry fee thing. I'm going to get these pros to come in at no entry fee. We're going to reduce the number of guys so it's only 60 versus 100. And I know for a fact that his biggest focus was trying to get someone to buy this thing. So he was looking at, hey, I'm making these numbers up again, but let's say he had 20 teams that paid entries or down payments, things like that. So he had, we'll call it anywhere between $100,000 and $300,000. Okay, not near what he was gonna have.
So
okay?
some teams did pay entry
Some
fees?
teams did pay, and his thing was, hey, we're going no entry fee. I'll get you that money back, guys. When you come to Okeechobee, we'll return your money. Okay, so some teams did. Not very many though. Nowhere near the 100 that he thought was going to do it. Okay, but he still, number one, he wanted to get as much money as he could, and number two, he needed to have those two events in order to give him the time to get the money, and then have a period of time where people were just scratching their head going, how come we haven't gotten paid yet?
Right. Okay.
Oh, well, the rules say they got 30 days to pay us. And so, we'll wait, and all of this. Then he came up with all these other excuses about W-9s and cheaters, and we got to look at video and all of that kind of crap that was really just that. This is, again, my theory. There may be holes in it or whatever, but I think that his pivot move was to go, okay, I'm gonna do this a no entry fee thing. I got a certain amount of money now, and if I can get somebody to buy this, even if it's not, maybe it's a great deal at $1 million or something like that, and then he could collect that money and be out of it that way. I know there was a ton of talk on his part about wanting to sell it. Yeah, the whole investor thing, I don't know whether that was a separate side scam that he had going on, or whether there really was an investor, or whether that was just told to the anglers so that they would, accept the fact that, hey, we don't have to pay entry fees and we're getting, this. But there was a lot. And the other part of this that I want to make sure to point out, at one point, and I've heard this from several of my buddies, sponsors were very, very into this dual threat thing. And I mean, this is before the negative stuff. They were like looking to all the anglers that were doing their live streaming from their boats. They were getting a ton of views, and sponsors were looking at it like, hey, if you're fishing dual threat and you do a live stream, we will pay for that. We will pay you, angler, to do this because it's getting a lot of eyeballs. There was a lot of positive vibes going on with the dual threat thing. There's a lot of eyeballs now, but it's all on the opposite side of it. But the reality was, as this was in the beginning, when it was no entry fees, and there were a lot, and so I think he was hoping that he could cash in on that as well by claiming that it was a no entry fee thing. This is my theory on what was going on there, and again, there are varying levels of how people got taken. There were some anglers who didn't pay any money. They went down there. They're out, like you said in the beginning. They're out their hotel fees, their time and energy, and their travel expenses. Still there are guys who did just that, but maybe they came in 20th place and they were supposed to get a $7,000 check, and they didn't.
Right.
There's the winners who were supposed to get $100,000, and they didn't.
Right. That sucks for them.
That
primarily.
really sucks.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And, I've heard this said too. The reality is they still competed and they won. They're just not getting the cash that goes along with that.
True.
But the other part of this is, and part that the people that you feel most sorry for are the people who paid the entry fees initially, paid their deposits, and got checks, refund checks, that then bounced. And so they put money out there in addition to time and hotel fees and expenses. And then when they got those checks back to refund them their entry fees, those entry fees bounced and those return checks bounced. So those are the people that you feel most sorry for, and we absolutely hope that there'll be some retribution in the future.
Well, I mean, it seems like a good concept. I mean, now we just need someone else to take on the torch and.
Oh my gosh, you did that without me even cueing you. That's the video that's going to come out next week, because believe it or not, there might be a resurrection to dual threat fishing, and somebody might be doing exactly what you are talking about. The reality is, it is a good concept. It's one of the keys to the fact that made this such a convincing con, was that the concept is actually very, very right on.
Yeah.
And a good con relies on having a great concept, and it relies on people who want it to be true. So many people wanted this to be true that they were willing to overlook things that didn't really make sense.
Right.
And and again, I've said, this guy, I talked to him on the phone. The first time I ever talked to him on the phone, I talked to him on the phone for an hour. I hung up the phone, and I think I told you, this guy knows what he's talking about, man. He is good. He was slick.
He was good at something.
Yep. And it's interesting when you talk to him on the phone, if you ever raised a question about something that he didn't want to give the answer to, hey, you know what? That's a great question, Mark. Let me get back to you, because I got another angler on the phone. My investor's on the phone right now. I got to take this. I'll get back to you on that. That's a great question. I want to get back to you. And all of a sudden he never answered the tough questions, but the reality is, his lie about, the investor's on the phone, was all, it fit. It's like, oh man, this guy's a mover and a shaker, man. Oh, he's got the money because his investor is calling him right now. Every lie supported the con. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So he's good. No, give him that. I will say, he wasn't quite as good in person, from what I understand. I wasn't there, but a lot of the guys who were there kind of indicated that once they saw him in person, they started getting that twinge in the back of their neck, going, something doesn't feel right here. But
Okay.
By then it was a little too late. Anyway, guys, we appreciate you tuning in, and thank you for joining me. And I hope that answered your question. Mm-hmm. And guys, have a great weekend, and we will see you on Monday for another episode of Mark Fisher Outdoors. Take care, everybody.
Stay channeled.